Today we'll be taking a look at a game that I've wanted to review for a really long time. Action Man: The Search for Mr. X on the Game Boy Color. That's right, boys and girls, we're going handheld on this one. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Hello?
Stupid.
Mayday! Mayday! Is anyone there?
Lara Croft?
How did you get on this line?
I turned on the Game Boy? How did you get in this game?
Never mind that, listen. I'm doing everything I can from the inside, but I need your help. We need to track down the Nightmare Stone pronto.
Really? Wow. Gee, I never thought I'd be helping out the great Lara Croft from Tomb Raider.
Don't flatter yourself. This is just a plot mechanic that you've written for me, and a tired one at that.
True. I am pretty predictable.
I mean, really, reviewing video games on the internet, who does that?
Yeah, thanks, Peanut Gallery. Can we just fast forward to the review?
It's your show.
Better move this one to the big screen courtesy of the GameCube's Game Boy player. Are you sure you're gonna be okay if I just leave this open?
I'm using Mode 7 in blast processing combined with the Super FX chip, so it shouldn't be a problem.
How?
Don't try to make sense of it.
Alright. Tomb Raider and its main character, Lara Croft, shouldn't need much of an introduction. After all, 2016 marks the 20th year of the franchise's existence. As one of the first female character standouts of the 3D video game generation, Lara Croft is part Indiana Jones, part Prince of Persia, part Samus Aran, and all, cheeky attitude. But when Core Design, the initial developers of the Tomb Raider franchise, decided to try their luck at bringing this bombshell to the realm of two dimensions, their source of inspiration didn't provide the smoothest of transitions, but in all honesty, was it the only logical move to make for the series? The game, simply called Tomb Raider, was released in the year 2000 exclusively for the Game Boy Color. Lara's adventure begins by allowing choice of region, and since I'm American, I guess I'll go with the UK? Why no United States option? I'm assuming this has more to do with the dialogue of the story and menus than anything else. The game starts off impressive enough, with still images that appear on the screen to show the story before dialogue begins to fill in the details. These pictures resemble clips from a full motion video similar to something we would have seen at the time on a home console such as the PlayStation 1. So we can't fault the developers for not including actual animated clips, though I would imagine if they opted for a style more akin to comic book panels, that might have put less stress on the hardware. What we learn is that Lara's good friend, Professor Igor Beaumain, is asking for her help. See, he's working for the Ancient Artifact Department of Moscow, and well, he has some troubling news. There are several parties going after the Nightmare Stone, a potentially dangerous jewel that imprisons a being known as Quaxet. Or is it pronounced Quazet? Not really sure. Previously, he was an overlord who ruled the Mayan, Aztec, and Incan lands, and his spirit was locked away inside the stone by 3 holy priests. Your mission is to meet up with an archaeologist friend of the professor's named Iliat, who's been hunting down the stone before the wrong hands could grab it. Unfortunately, Iliat isn't at the meeting place, but Lara finds, I guess, blood, and is that a bear trap? I can't really tell. The cutscenes in this can sometimes be completely blurred or crystal clear. Even on the blown up television screen, it's hard to make out what's going on sometimes in these scenes. Thankfully, the game isn't the same way. The graphics throughout the adventure never fail to impress me, with excellent use of color and stellar animation. Lara's sprite is large and a pretty clear indicator to players that the developers spent most of their time making Lara look good, right down to, oh boy, an animated jiggle.
Boys.
Can you blame them?
I'm not real, darling.
Yeah, but...
You were saying?
Back to the game. As far as the controls, do we have any flashback, Out of This World, or early Prince of Persia fans here? Anyone? Okay, you'll feel right at home with this one. Moving with Lara is either painfully clumsy or stupidly slow. The controls are the biggest enemy of the game. The game's creators tried to add too many movements, and it just makes things difficult for no reason. You move with the D-pad. You can hold the B button down so Lara can begin running. You'll spend most of your time either walking slowly to avoid running off of a cliff into spikes, or bumping into walls awkwardly. The jumping mechanics are probably the biggest failure here. You can walk to the edge of a wall, but you have to press the direction you want to go in to climb the wall. But sometimes you have to press up instead of the left or right direction. There seems to be no rhyme or reason behind it. From what I gather, if the wall is just above you, holding the direction forward will allow you to climb, whereas the up button is primarily used for long jumps. But the system is just too messy, so half the times I do the wrong jump when I meant to do the opposite one. Not complicated enough for you? How about the ledges? On these smaller platforms, you're supposed to just tap up on the D-pad. You'll begin to learn which jumps are out of Lara's range thanks to trial and error. Unfortunately, the error typically involves being impaled on spikes or having to climb all the way back up to where you came from while taking damage from the fall. That is, if you don't die from it. You can press and hold start and move with the directional pad to get a sense as to what's around you, but half the times doing this automatically forces the camera in one direction. It doesn't feel like you're in control of it. There are jumps that require that you run and leap beforehand by pressing A, or is it the B button with the up button and the direction you're going in? I don't know, it's just too complicated of a control scheme to really get down. This often caused me numerous game overs. Plus, a lot of the platforms are super short, so it isn't uncommon to leap to your death when you were pressing what you thought were the right combination of buttons. There are crystals located in various spots throughout the levels, and these are safe spots. My best advice is to save every time you see one, because dying will really set you back a bit. You'll get super far, then jump into a pit accidentally because the game didn't recognize you pressing up and A and B to make a long jump. I mean, just look at these controls in the manual. It just seems like they tried to make things overly overcomplicated, and with only a total of 4 buttons to use without counting the D-pad, that has to lend itself to simplicity. But in Tomb Raider, it doesn't. But at least pointless moves like this are still available. While climbing a wall, you can hold down the A button to have Lara do her patented gymnastics move to show off her acrobatic skills. Ooh. Ah.
What? A girl gets bored raiding all these tombs.
I'll raid your tombs. Nice.
What? Why did you say nice at the end?
What do you mean?
You said nice, like you were patting yourself on the back for your own insult.
It's kind of my thing.
It's kind of a stupid thing. Nice.
Through enough patience and dedication, you'll progress to the point where Lara accidentally unlocks Quaxet, whatever, who's now taken control of the Amazon Temple, preventing escape. It's up to Lara to get the temple unlocked through various tasks involving the unlocking of doors, grabbing items, and bringing them to other locations. You'll often have to blow up these gray walls, which is actually always easy because dynamite spawns almost instantly when you need it. It's rather helpful to see several walls that need to be blown up, and a stick of dynamite is just a screen refresh away. There are also some swimming portions of the game, all of which actually control very well. Lara has an oxygen meter, which is more than enough oxygen to explore for a while and come up for air eventually. Hidden throughout these levels are various keys, gems, and mechanisms that will allow Lara to progress. At times, it becomes a fetch quest, but one you'll actually enjoy if you're into getting lost in the experience. There's also false walls that lead to items, as well as fake floors that crumble when touched. When flipping switches, you'll never know what was triggered, which can often lead to a lot of confusion regarding the direction you should be going in. While this makes the experience more challenging, I'd say it's just not player friendly. You'll eventually run into Iliot, but he's not in great shape and appears to have been tortured by the mercenaries who were looking for the map to the stone, and now he's losing blood fast. He tells you that because you've touched the orb, the Guardians have been unleashed to protect the temple. Iliot gives you the piece of the map that his torturers didn't get from him, and Lara sets off to collect these keys that will help her unlock the path to the stone. The puzzles aren't incredibly difficult, but because of the non-linear level layout and the way the camera feels zoomed in on Miss Croft, it's extremely easy to get lost, especially if you decide to take a break during levels. There's a total of 5 portions of the temple broken down into chapters. 3 temple chapters, 3 royal tombs, 3 treasure chambers, 2 caverns, and finally, 3 volcanic temples. Each portion tries to change up the colors and atmosphere a little bit to add variety. There's some amazing details in the backgrounds that I often get lost looking over. From these skull symbols to the bricks in the walls, it's all extremely well crafted for an experience on the Game Boy Color. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for the music, or what they consider music. During the cutscenes, we're treated to some gorgeous 8-bit tracks full of arpeggio goodness from Mr. Manfred Linzner, a longtime Amiga composer and demo scener. But after a 10-second mess of music, we're left with the deafening silence of emptiness. Aside from annoying bats that look like mosquitoes chirping at you, projectiles making obnoxious sound effects, and Lara's, erotic moans every time she picks up an item, this game is severely lacking in the audio department, which is a shame because if they just looped these songs or had them pop in at times other than the beginning of the stage or when you load your save point, it could have been at least something to bob your head to while getting lost. I mean, it would make sense if she was using the med pack as it'd be a sigh of relief, but just picking one up?
A girl's allowed to have her vices.
Doing anything for you? Moving on. Regarding item pickups, you can sometimes pick them up by rolling over them, but most of the time you have to carefully step to the item, press the down button on the directional pad, and wait for Lara to slowly pick them up. There's 2 types of firepower aside from your normal bullets: rapid fire machine gun style, as well as the heavy bullets that produce a more shotgun style range. Your normal guns fire pretty slow, but the combat is laughable in this game. The AI is brutally dumb. Most enemies consist of the previously mentioned bat mosquito thingies, scorpions, snakes, and later on Amazon women and random gunmen, the latter of which must be part of the groups that are also looking for the Nightmare Stone. I'll see one of these goons on the platform above me, and thanks to Lara's auto-aiming, when they get in a decent range, I can shoot at them with my regular guns and they go down without knowing what hit them. I just didn't care about the combat because there was no risk involved. I very rarely died because of the enemies, because most of my deaths involved stupid mistakes on platforms, falling, or sliding into spike pits, or dropping from a high ledge while too low on health. Thankfully, the game provides plenty of health, with small and large med packs available all over the maps. I ended the game with over 30 of each type, and it's not like they respawned either, there were just that many to pick up. Because of this, projectiles and various traps seemed pointless to worry about. I would blindly run through them or climb down ladders, getting hit several times along the way. Aside from the various human characters you run into, along with the plethora of snakes and scorpions, you'll eventually come to take on Jawal Teotl, the evil underworld beast that guards the final piece of the obelisk that Lara must collect. Once the altar is unlocked, the Nightmare Stone can be released. Lara has to then make her escape, but unlike the end of every Metroid game, there's no real time limit here, so I was able to take my time navigating Miss Croft through the final stretch of the game. Despite the combat feeling more like a nuisance and less like a challenge, the part that did engage me was the platforming and puzzles. It harkens back to my glory days of the first Metroid game, with no map, and just my wits to get me through each section of the game. I know I've done my fair share of complaining about this game, but something about the yearning to move on intrigued me enough to see this through till the end. So I guess the question is, would I recommend this game? Well, considering as how I'm personally not a big fan of games like Flashback or classic Prince of Persia, and I prefer more combat to engage me through a non-linear adventure, Tomb Raider is a difficult recommendation.
Go on.
Let's be honest here, the controls are a bit of an archaic mess that belong in the tombs that you raid. Since the game can be picked up for pretty cheap, it may be worth giving it a shot if you're a fan of puzzle and platforming games.
Excuse me, dear boy, but that'd be an absolute travesty. But I must thank you. We've destroyed the Nightmare Stone, so my job here is done. Thanks for your help.
Anytime, Laura. Thanks for stopping by. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to get back to my Action Man review. Take care.
Cheers to you.
Alright, now, where were we? Oh no, look what happened to Action Man! I'll get you for this next time, Lara Croft. Next time. Like controversial reviews, we'll check out the Metroid Other M review and come back in 2 weeks for the next installment in the Tomb Raider handheld trilogy. As always, thanks for watching.